It's Sunday, 28th of November. Our main story, Boris Johnson has announced measures to reduce the spread of the new COVID-19 variant Omicron after 2 cases were detected in the UK.
So it means all travellers entering Britain will now have to take a PCR test within 2 days, and they must self-isolate until that test comes back negative.
All of those who've been in contact with someone who has the Omicron variant will also have to self-isolate for 10 days. That's regardless of whether they've been vaccinated.
Well, face coverings will once again become compulsory in shops and on public transport in England. That's from next week. In Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, they're already mandatory on public transport and in many indoor areas, as Catherine DaCosta reports.
It's hard to believe just a week ago no one had even heard of Omicron, a highly mutated COVID variant that may spread more rapidly and could make vaccines less effective. But with the confirmation of 2 cases of the variant here in the UK, concerns have escalated quickly.
Our scientists are learning more hour by hour, and it does appear that Omicron spreads very rapidly and can be spread between people who are double vaccinated. There is also a very extensive mutation, which means it diverges quite significantly from previous configurations of the virus, and as a result it might, at least in part, reduce the protection of our vaccines over time.
4 more countries in southern Africa have been added to the travel red list, bringing the total to 10. From next week, there'll be new targeted restrictions. All international arrivals must take a PCR test on day 2 and self-isolate until they receive a negative result. All contacts of suspected Omicron cases must self-isolate regardless of their vaccine status. And in England, face coverings will be mandatory in shops and on public transport, as is the case already in other UK nations.
The point we have at the moment is there's a lot of uncertainty about the new Omicron variant, and because of that uncertainty it is sensible to take a precautionary approach until we know which way things are going.
The government had been criticised for being too slow to act with Delta. This time they've moved quickly, but the opposition thinks they could have gone further.
The government's plan B has always been our plan A. We think that mask wearing should be commonplace in public spaces, especially indoors. We think that people should be able to work from home where that is possible. I think we should have been doing all those things already. So of course we want them to be doing that now.
The message is vaccines are still our best defence. Mr Johnson said they plan to boost the booster campaign and would ask the JCVI whether they should be offered to all adults and if the gap should be shortened between the 2nd and 3rd doses.
We don't yet exactly know how effective our vaccines will be against Omicron, but we have good reasons for believing they will provide at least some measure of protection. And if you're boosted, your response is likely to be stronger. So it's more vital than ever that people get their jabs and we get those boosters into arms as fast as possible.
The Prime Minister said he thought Christmas would be better than last year. The new measures will be reviewed in 3 weeks, by which time we should know how big a threat Omicron poses and whether ministers have done enough to limit its spread. Catherine DaCosta, BBC News.